Good morning, everybody. It's Cricket Claus, your neighborhood friendly Mrs. Claus here. I am coming in today. We are going to make some ornaments, and they are going to be amazing. They are some of my favorite. It's basically going to use this same one little pattern to make several different types of ornaments. So I figured I'd come in, do the intro, and then we'll get this thing going. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I did it in several different colors, and we're also going to do some different styles in the same little circle. Easy.
I didn't get that.
Siri, she's got issues today. Okay, so first to start, we're using this Twinkle Big Twist yarn in the red. I think it's gorgeous. It comes out with this little sheen on it that's just kind of happy, shiny, and pretty. We're also using the Big Twist Value yarn and worsted weight in there. What color is this specifically? I know it's a green. It is Varsity Green is the color. This yarn is just some gold that I had in my stash. I want to say it's a thicker, bulkier yarn that I got maybe at Hobby Lobby. I don't remember, if I'm being honest. I think it's Lion brand. This is a velvet yarn. You can get those at any store. Like, I saw some at Joann's yesterday. I know I got this off of Temu, and it shreds like a mother. So you will see white floaties all over this table today. Then we're going to use a black because I think I'm going to make a Santa one. And we're going to make a little belt, a little Santa belt with this one. So those are our project bits. Of course we need scissors. Of course we're gonna need a hook. Today's hook we're using a 3mm. I only know that because I memorized the colors, because this one you can't even see the color or see where they had it printed on there anymore. But this is a 3mm hook, and I find that it's perfect for this project. So what I've done so far is I've made 8 of these little 4 red and 4 green, and I'm going to show you right now how to make those. So I'm going to do another one in red. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see what I'm doing with my hands. All right. Is our resolution going to be okay? Is it going to act up funny? It is acting a little crazy. Hang on a second. All right, we've got our 45 in there, and I just realized my camera is flipped, so you guys can't see any of what I just did. Great. So full transparency, I recorded this entire thing and my camera was mirrored, so you couldn't really see exactly what I was doing with my hands the way that my hands are. So now I've got the camera right. We're going to do it again. So we're going to put our slip knot on our hook. We're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to do a slip stitch into our first chain there. Which, it's okay that I went ahead and made another one, because I'm going to need it for this video anyway. All right, then we're going to slip stitch through there. I'm going to take this tail right here, and I'm going to put it between where my hook is and where my feeding line is, because that way I can tuck that tail in and not have to worry about cutting it off or weaving it in later. You can choose to do this or not. It's up to you. So now that we have this, and I don't know why it's not focusing like it was when it was not mirrored the other way. Anyway. All right, well, we're going to try to do this with the focus being a little off. All right, so we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do double crochets into this little circle here. So we're going to do 14 of those plus our chain 3, which is going to add up to 15 in the end. So we're going to have 15 double crochets by the time we're in, because we're going to count that chain 3 as our first double crochet. So go ahead and do 15 into your circle, and I will meet you back when I get that done. Okay, we've got our 15 double crochets in here. Now I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to stick it into the top of that chain 3 space that we did before, and do a slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 3 again. Then we're going to do a double crochet into that same little hole we just used. Now we're going to go around the entire outside of our little circle and do 2 double crochets into the top of every double crochet stitch. And we're going to do that all the way around until we have 30 double crochets all the way around our project. And I'll be right back. Alright, so now we have our 30 stitches all the way around. We're going to do a slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that we started off this round with. And then we're going to chain 3 for the next round. 1, 2, 3. Now, if you're not using a twinkle yarn that has this like glittery effect to it, it may not strip like mine is doing. It tends to fray a little bit, and that can be annoying, but it's pretty, so it's worth it, in my opinion. All right, so that's going to be our first double crochet. Then we're going to go and do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Then a single double crochet into the stitch after that, and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. So our pattern is 1 and then 2. 1 and then 2 the whole way around. When you get done, you should have 45 stitches in this round. So I'll see you back when you've got your 45 stitches. Okay, so we have our 45 stitches all the way around. We're going to go into the top of that chain 3, and we're going to do a slip stitch. We're going to pull out a little tail, and we're going to cut it off. And now you should have a little circle. Now I've got 2 of these. We're going to do 2 totally different ornaments with them. For starters, we're going to take 1 and we're going to just make a little ornament out of it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Wrong way. There we go. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to take my gold yarn, and I'm going to also pull it through where we did that slip stitch. And what we're doing here, pull that loop through, dadgummit. There we go. Then I'm going to do a chain. Now I'm going to use that to weave in the tails of these 2, so we don't have to do any later on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a single crochet, and then I'm going to do 3 more single crochets across the way, maybe 4. I think we're going to do 4. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to do my single crochet through this top of this stitch, this one, 3, 4. All right, and what we're doing is we're making the top of our little bulb. So now that we've got that, I'm going to trim these 2 ends off. Don't cut the one you're working with. All right. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to do 5 single crochets the whole way across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to do this 2 more times until we have 4 rows of 5 single crochets. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work, and do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this is going to be the simplest of the ornaments that we're going to make today, but I think it is one of the cutest. So turn, and we're going to do our last little row. And I'm sure you can see what we're coming up with now. It's just a simple little bauble or Christmas ball, but flat. Now, I am going to slip stitch to the center of this, and then we are going to chain to make our little slip, slip. So that's 3 slip stitches over to the center. Then we're going to chain, I'd say about 10. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then we're going to slip stitch into these last 2 stitches. Actually, I think we're going to slip stitch into the center here again. Slip stitch, and then slip stitch into the last 2. Then we're going to fasten off and weave in our ends. All right, you guys, and that was just a simple little ornament that I think is kind of precious. All right, we'll weave in that end in just a second, but that gives you an idea of what that one looks like. How cute is this little guy? He's just a little ornament. You could use this as an applique, like on a pillow, or say you were doing something like some of the other projects that we've done and you need an applique to put on it. The front of your apron even, if you wanted to. That would be super cute. So I'm going to get my yarn needle out and I'm going to weave in that end. Once we have that end weaved in, I will show you the next ornament that we're going to do. I'll be right back. Here's that cutie with the ends weaved in, and it'll be so easy to put on your tree with this little loop we made at the top. I think it's cute. It's super simple, basic, easy little ornament. Now on to the next one. We're going to take our second red one that we made, because I made an extra, and we are going to go in with this velvet yarn that I have. We're going to do the same thing with the slip stitch. We're going to pull that velvet yarn through. We're going to fold both of the tails up against the project. I'm going to do a little chain here. Then we're going to do single crochets the entirety around the outside, making sure that we keep these tails tight so that they weave in and we don't have tails that we have to cut off. So I'm going into the top of each one of these and I'm just going to hold those tight to the project so that they don't need weaving in later. It's kind of a weave as you go type project, so you don't have to worry about them coming out or them having any issues. Sorry for the sound quality if you can hear my neighbor's motorcycle. Apparently he's going to work and he had to let it warm up. So we're going to finish this bad boy out doing these single crochets in the velvet thread the whole way around, and I will meet you back here in a moment. Okay, now we're all the way around, and I'm going to chain one and pull this tail out and fasten off. So what I'm going to do is weave that end in so that we don't have a little tail hanging out here. Because we're not going to go all the way around with the next thing that we're doing. So just going to weave that bad boy through there with my yarn needle until he's hidden like our other tail. Now, once that's done, I'm just going to fasten that, or I'm going to cut that a little bit just to kind of get him off to the side. And we have this guy. Can you tell who this guy is going to be? What we're going to do with this one next? Well, you'll see soon. So I'm going to take some black thread or black yarn, and I'm just using a worsted weight black yarn, and I'm going to make a belt. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to chain however it takes, or however many it takes to get from one end to the other stretched out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think it's going to be about 5 or 6. Nope. 10. All right, 10 should be kind of cute. Maybe we'll do 12 because we're going to go back with a single crochet the whole way around, the whole way over it, and that'll stretch it out some. Yeah, 12 should be about right. All right, so we're going to do one more chain to make it 13. Then we're going to go into that second chain from the hook, and we're going to do 12 single crochets the whole way across. All right, there's number 12. All right, so we've got our 12 single crochets the whole way across. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it right here to the center, and I'm just going to sew that on between the white with my yarn needle. So, you know, I might do a second row. I think I'm going to do a second row. That way I've got a piece to tie on each end. Yeah, we're going to do a second row. So we're going to chain one, flip it, and do another row of 12 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can you tell I'm making this one up on the spot? 6, 7, 8, if I can get it to go in. 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so now we've got 12 single crochets in 2 rows. I'm going to pull out a tail, clip it off, then we're going to use our yarn needle with our little ends here that we've got to sew that bad boy down onto our ornament. So how we're going to do that, we're just going to add our little yarn needle on here. We're going to pick our spot right about here, pull that through there, go back through about 3 stitches further down, go into the end, and then one more little spot into the center. It came loose from my yarn needle because my tail's not long enough. I'm just going to stick that back into the yarn needle if I can get it to thread through there. Come on, buddy, you're making me look dumb. Uncoordinated. Go into the hole. There we go. And we're going to pull it through. Then we're going to tie it off a little bit. And see, this is why I don't like working with the velvet yarn. It just makes a mess. It's so pretty, but it makes a mess. All right, so I'm going to tie this. And you don't have to tie it any way specifically. I'm just going to tie it into that little hole there. I'm going to use my hook to pull it through. And I'm going to make it into a loop. Use the hook to pull it through again. And pull tight. Once that's done, I'm going to clip it off on that side. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'll be right back. Now we have Santa's belt. Now all we need is a buckle, and honestly you could use anything from a button. Like I've got this button that I have left over from another project that I'm going to use as the belt buckle for his little belt here. I'm just going to sew that on with a little bit of yarn. I'm going to use the red so that it blends in the back, so you don't have a messy backside of it. but I'm going to take my little needle. I'm going to go through the button. If it'll, oh, it's too big for the button. Okay, I've got to get a smaller needle. All right, go through my little box or my little needle set. Crochet or stick this through this smaller needle and pray this smaller needle fits through that button. Oy, what a mess. Okay, does it go through the button? It does not. Ah! Okay, so in that case, I'm going to take the smallest crochet hook that I have, which is a 2 millimeter. Will that go through there? It's not going to go through there. All right, we're going to have to think of a different way to get this yarn through that little button. Maybe we'll make it real small and push it through ourselves. I would never recommend doing this, by the way. This is not the right way to do this. We don't do everything right all the time. All right, I'm going to get a regular needle and I'll put that on there. All right, so now we have this little guy. And what I'm going to do now is the same thing we did on the other one with the top. I'm going to make our little top for our little ball. And I'm going to do it with the gold yarn again. I've made quite the tail on it this time, but that's okay. I don't mind. I will be cutting it off once I get to that thing. So we're going to go 1, 2. Oh, that is our tail from the last piece. We don't want to do that now. We're going to go into this 1, 2. Dang it, grab the right yarn, Crystal. 3, 4, 5. And it's so hard to see where you're going in with this velvet yarn, but that's okay. We'll figure it all out in the end, right? Flip it. Remember 4 rows of this 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4. One more row, yay! 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then slip stitch over to the end. 1, come here, buddy. Come back here, my friend. 1, 2, 3, chain 10 like we did on the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Go back into that one and slip stitch again. I'm doing this all off camera, aren't I? Yes. Then slip stitch into the last 2. Come on, buddy. All right, now I remember why I didn't like working with this yarn, which is why I have had it sitting in my stash for a while. It's hard to work with. So if you can use any gold yarn that you want to for this project, just remember this one was a pain in my tail. All right, speaking of tails, we're going to weave this in, but you have an idea. We have our Santa bauble. Isn't he cute? Now, I did do this a little too far over. I should have centered it a little better, but it's still cute and it adds to the homemade feel of the ornament. If you don't want it to be a little off center, by all means count your stitches over a little bit more. I'm going to finish it off and we're coming back for the next project. So now we have these 2 cuties and they are going to go on our tree just like this. How cute. All right, now for the last one. We're going to make those same circular ornament things that we were making. I'm going to go ahead and weave in the ends of all of these, and I'm going to make 8 of them. Now I did them in the red, and I'm also doing them in the varsity green that I mentioned at the beginning. I'm going to weave these ends in so that they're not seen. Bye bye tail. Boom. And I'm going to do that on all 8 of these. So I did these and this one. I'll be right back once I get all of those tails weaved in, and we'll show you how we're going to do the next part. You guys, look at all of this fluff from the velvet yarn. It is a mess. Okay, so I'll show you what we're doing with these. We are going to be folding them in half and putting a little bead right here in the center of each of these. So we're going to make 8 of these little like cocoons. They almost look like cannolis if you ask me. It's like a little cannoli. So I'm going to call them cannolis. Now I have these beads that I got at Joann yesterday on clearance, which were awesome. And I made sure I have a hook that'll fit through there. I'm taking the chenille yarn, or the velvet yarn, because it's the color of what we are using, and it will blend in better than using anything else. I'm going to take my little cannoli, I'm going to stick the yarn through there, then I am going to stick the bead through the needle and pull it through. Then I am going to take my needle off because that's all we needed. Now I'm going to tie this in a little knot. And I'm going to cut my yarn right there by the knot. And because the velvet yarn blends in, oh no, I cut it off too short. Okay, so we know better than to do that next time. Let's put it back on our yarn needle. Don't cut it off too short, guys. Back on our yarn needle, go through our cannoli, right at the center, pull it through, put our bead on. Oh, why is this bead smaller than the other beads? Oh no, come on now, go through there. There we go. Now, remember, we're going to tie it in a knot. Leave our ends long enough to weave in this time. We didn't do that last time, but we're going to do it this time. And we're going to weave the ends in just a little bit with our crochet hook, just so we don't have them sticking out. Come on, buddies, go through. All right. I'm doing 2 of them or doing them both at the same time. Probably shouldn't be doing that because it's just too much for our little hook. And there's the process. Look at all this velvet just fluffing everywhere. Okay, so now we've got these little cannolis. Go ahead and make your little cannolis out of all of your little circles, and I'll see you back when you've got all 8 of them done. Now, I was considering doing this project without using any hot glue, but I think we are going to use hot glue for this next part. I was going to not do it if I could possibly get away with it, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to get away with it. So let me grab my hot glue gun and come on over to the party. Come on over, hot glue gun. Let me figure out if I can reach with this bad boy. All right, so while that's heating up, I'm also going to make the string for this one. I'm going to use one of the same kind of beads that I used here, but a little bigger. I'm going to go ahead and use my gold thread again, or my gold yarn again. And I am going to first untangle it from itself. And then I am going to chain 12 this time, because we've been chaining 10, and let me put a slip knot on here first. And I feel like it just needs to be 12 for this one, because it's going to need to be a little longer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, actually we're going to do 15. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Then I'm going to slip stitch into that first chain stitch that we did to make us a loop. All right, now I'm going to fasten that off, and I'm going to leave it a little long because I think I'm going to have it come out to the back. Since we're hot gluing things, we might as well have it look good. All right, we're going to have our loop. Now I'm going to take this bead and I'm going to string it through the ends here with my yarn needle. All right, I need to get that other piece in there. And I didn't leave my tails long enough, but that's okay. It'll be all right. All I'm doing is putting it through this bead. If I was having to sew it to anything, that would be totally different. But of course I can't get the tail in the eye of the needle. Come on, baby. There we go. All right, so we're going to take that. We're just going to shove it through this bead and pull the bead all the way through. Pull that yarn out, and then we are going to hot glue the yarn to the back of the ornament itself to kind of keep it in there, but I'll show you how we do that after we hot glue the rest of this. So we're going to organize these kind of like this, where we've got 8 of them together in alternating colors. Now I am going to hot glue the top and the bottom just in that little spot right there. So I'm going to do that with a little boop and boop. Now you could sew this together at those 2 spots, but I don't feel like it holds together like you want it to when you do that. Now, I'm going to do that the whole way across, and I'll be right back. Now, in the spirit of full transparency, the reason that I hot glued that is because I didn't want to have to do another thing with this velvet yarn, period. It is the devil. I do not want to ever have to do anything with that again. So, you know, we did 8, and this comes up to be quite the large project. Did not expect that, going off of what I had seen already. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take our hot glue gun and we're going to glue the tops of all of these together around our little string to hang it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let's put these 2 together first, all the way around. So we have it completely glued together all the way around. So boop, boop, and then boom, boom. Let that get hot. And now we've got this like circular thing that it's cute. I mean, it's cute the way it is, but I want the ends of it to kind of come together at the top in a ball formation. So I'm going to start by covering our little gold piece down here in glue. I mean, I'm just going to cover the whole thing. I'm going to stick it down in there, and I am going to stick these 2 green ones to it because they're right across from each other. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to put in a whole bunch of glue, and I'm going to start fastening these to it piece by piece until we've got a cohesive little ball here at the top. I'm going to let that glue kind of cool off a little bit so it'll be tacky. And there's the top. Then we're going to do basically the same thing on the bottom, but without the ball. We're just going to take our hot glue, put a spot at the top of each little piece, and glue it together. Now this is going to be the biggest ornament of the 3 that we make today. All right, but it's going to be pretty when it's done. All right, and we're going to make that into a cohesive little like piece. And the more I think about it, the more I think I'm going to actually put one of those beads on the bottom. Just, of course, my hot glue came loose at the top. Of course. Because it's holding a lot of tension there. So keep in mind, you're going to want to use a decent amount of glue, and you're going to want it to melt together before you put it down anywhere. But this is why I would recommend like sewing it together instead of gluing it together like we did here. Only reason that I did the hot glue is because I am frustrated with this velvet yarn, and if I never use it again, I will be happy, happy, happy. All right, I think we have come together now. And we can fluff these out. So at the top of each one of these, you want to fluff them out a little bit, and then fluff them at the bottom or in the center together where your little beads are, to just kind of make it kind of look like a fan. It kind of fans out a little bit in different areas. Is it my favorite one of the 3 that we made? Not exactly. Did I think it would be? Actually, yes. I'm kind of disappointed in the way this one came out. We'll see how it looks once I get it like fluffed out in the right spots and stuff. I think the velvet yarn ruined it, if I'm being honest. I saw another creator make something similar with a gold yarn, and I think it turned out much better. But the velvet yarn just fluffs up too much, if you ask me. But there it is. Let me put that bottom bead on and see how we feel about that. If that kind of adds or takes away anything from it. Oh, I guess I need more glue. I ran out of hot glue. Of course I did. Now I am using a high temp. I bet if I used a low temp, stickier kind of hot glue, I would be happier with it. But the way that that velvet kind of shreds into pieces, look at all of this. Whew, what a mess. All right, so there's that one. I mean, I'm happy with it. I wasn't happy with it at first, but now that I'm looking at it, hanging on the tree, that's going to be pretty. So, all right, and you can do this in other colors. Like if your tree is not red and green, you can do other colors. If you don't want to do the white velvet, I highly recommend not doing the white velvet. You can do the same thing with like a gold all the way around. I just had all of this and I wanted to see if it would work. And it kind of was a fail. So, all right, there's 3 ornaments for you. Let's show them off